Hello mech fans and welcome to the Valhalla Club. Grab a Fusionaire and join us as we talk Battletech and the latest happenings around the Colorado Battletech community. Hello everyone, thanks for joining us in the Valhalla Club. I'll be your bartender for the night. I am Mike the Viking, and tonight we've got BourBen, the Master of Spirits.
Hello, hello.
We've got Matt the Northman.
Yo.
And Caveman John.
Hey, unga bunga.
All right. So for today's episode, we will be covering the majority of an LVO Las Vegas Open recap from, was it now a week and a half ago? Where four of us were able to make it. John was unfortunately not able to join us, but he was with us in spirit.
Yep, on the line.
So let's get tonight started off with the Pile of Shame segment. Let's start with here, Matt. Matt, what have you been working on?
Yeah, so for LVO, I had to put together my Alpha Strike, my AS350 list. So that was like, let's see, 13 units. So painted those purple, the old Merrick Militia colors. So that was pretty fun. I enjoyed doing that. Also painted up a BTCC crew of Wolf's Dragoons. That was another 6 units. And then right before we left for LVO, or the weekend before we left for LVO, I was part of a aerospace event. So that was, let's see, 16 of the little mini aerospace fighters that I did in the Crucis Lancers colors. So that was fun. So that was a whole bunch of painting all in like the space of a week and a half to get ready for everything, because I always like to leave everything to the last minute. But it all worked out, and that was awesome. And now I have all those things done and can play with them forever. So that's what I got done.
Hell yeah. BourBen, what you doing? What'd you work on the last month?
Kind of like Matt, I got my LVO list finished up. I've had the majority of it done prior to January 1st, so I was able to get most of it kind of cleaned up, finished up, and now I'm in LVO recovery right now. So it's resorting everything and
Drink water.
Drinking water and
Lots.
mixed with bourbon and a little bit of trying to figure out my next list now.
All right. Mr. Caveman, what you been working on?
I've been painting a lot, but after hearing Matt, I feel embarrassed. I'm like, dang. I lost the Ben, so I'm painting up a battalion of Davians.
Yeah.
Gross. So I've just been painting a lot of blue, and I ordered some decals from Fighting Piranhas. I hope they get in soon, and I've decided I'm going to be Avalon Hussars because, I don't know, sounds cool.
Yeah.
So,
Hell yeah.
40 odd mechs, got them base coated, but now I'm waiting on shading and then highlights. So,
Say the weather was kind of prime this weekend. It's the first weekend of February. Like, did everybody get a lot of non-airbrush priming done?
It was quite the pun there, Mike. Way to go, man.
Heyo.
yeah.
I actually didn't. I wanted to, but got caught up with kids, so didn't get any priming. But I've still got like 30 already primed, just waiting to be put into units. So I've still got plenty to paint up.
I think I've got 2 things to prime from LVO. Everything else is already... See, I don't have a pile of gray. I have a pile of white. It's pretty much all
Racist.
primed already. It's just waiting to be decided on.
Yeah,
That's fair. And then I think I took the cake, took the trophy for absolute most last minute painting.
Oh yeah, it was awesome
for LVO. I know I shared a picture, and so the Army put me in the field on no notice, leading up to right before for LVO. Like I got out of the field on Wednesday and boarded my flight Thursday morning, and painted 80%, if not more, percentage of my LVO list. in the hotel room of the Rio. I brought my entire airbrush get up and basing material, everything. I painted the entire 350 list in the hotel room on Thursday.
That was probably the best intro we had with me, Matt, and Charles driving like 12 hours to get to LVO, and we walk into the hotel room of Dave and Mike and Charles, and Mike's over there like a madman, like he's got airbrush going, like a big paint booth set up, like there's shit everywhere. It was yeah, we're just like, oh man, it's starting already.
It's real, baby.
I still don't know how you got through security with like your compressed metallic bomb-shaped device like in your bag.
Just tell TSA it's a gun. Yeah, don't worry, it's just a gun. Yeah.
It was all in checked baggage, so I didn't have to worry about it. That's how I got the X-Acto knife in and everything else, because it was all in checked bags. So, but yeah, I painted the entire LVO list at the Rio the day before the tournament, and that was my hobby progress for the month of January, painting like a madman.
Turned out great, man.
But yeah,
no excuses.
So normally would cover games played right after this, since LVO is going to be our recap bit for this episode. We're not really going to cover games played, but I do want to give John an opportunity to cover his games played for January, since you were unfortunately not able to join us. What kind of games you get in, John?
I helped Ben do some prep for the tournament. I think we did 3 rounds of Wolfnet 350 one Friday night.
Yep. Yeah.
So that was good. Just like, I feel like anytime you have a new list, you want to get some practice in and kind of learn your ins and outs. And then when I was in Virginia for the holidays, I actually snuck out for a game of Classic. It was my first game of Classic. So thank you to the Richmond Battletech group. I got to see some old faces from X-Wing days, actually. Chuck. So shout out to Chuck and Jason Hansa, who's actually a Battletech fiction writer. He's out there at Battlegrounds in Midlothian. So big shout out to those guys for hosting me for my first game of Classic and getting me away from the in-laws for the day. That was appreciated.
So for your first game of Classic, what's your thoughts on Classic there, John?
It's pretty fun. Movement is kind of if for me, it seems like movement's a big divider between like experienced and new gamers. They just tossed me in a Battlemaster and they're like, "There's plain J Falcon, go blow them up." And I was like, "All right, cool, I got this." But there were other players, so I saw like counting hexes to like get their TMM, and I was like, "Well, it's too much." So I think turning and moving both costing the same amount of movement points is a real ball buster. And like, I don't know. That's the only thing that kind of hangs me up. It slows down the game probably too much. Just trying to get that TMM math.
Yeah, that's I think where the majority of the analysis paralysis comes in for Classic, is just measuring out 8 different paths to the exact same hex to see where you get the most TMM. Yeah.
So I may be a little too unga bunga for that. So, but it's fun. Like I like all the rolls. Well, I mean, I like some of the rolls. It gets a little crazy. It's like, why do I have like 2 SRM6s? Why can't I just roll 1 SRM12? I guess. But I'm sure there's a reason for it, and I'm just being a caveman. So
to each their own.
And mechs take a lot of damage in Classic. That was crazy. I'm not just getting CT'd. Like my Battlemaster was getting like sandpapered. Like they blew off my arm, but I was still standing and I had like armor damage all over the place. And I was only internal on the right torso. So I like that. I do like that. Yeah, the mechs feel a lot hardier, and there's like that tension, like because you're like, oh man, I really hope don't hit that location. Don't go internal. Don't roll an 8 for a crit. So I like that. That was fun.
Yeah, I definitely, and I think I've said it a few times on here. Like, I love the lore feel of Classic because as I'm playing a game, it feels like I'm writing my own battle from a book. And you definitely get that from the various locations and lost an arm here, and you're praying for that one pip of armor left not to get hit.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess let's just move on into the main medal here, the LVO review. We'll cover some, our games played, how your list performed, what worked, what didn't, what you might change within your list, the people we met, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, let's start it off with Matt here. Your LVO experience, Matt, how was it?
It was a blast. I mean, I got whooped, but it was a blast anyway. Let's see. I just better pull up my list right now so I don't forget anything. But I was playing Free Worlds League, Civil War. I think I mentioned this on some of the other episodes, but I just kind of pulled this out of the air because I hadn't really heard much of this combination in previous tournaments and events. So just decided to go with it. And the one rule that I had for myself was that because these are in Civil War era, they have access to a bunch of the clan stuff through the Innisphere Generalist. But my one rule was that I had to have at least half and half Innisphere and clan. So it kind of ended up being a fair number of clan mechs, but then a good number. Well, all my vehicles and infantry were from the Innisphere side. So I'll just run through it real quick. But I had a Gargoyle C, a Nova Prime. Oh, sorry, Mike. A Blackhawk Prime.
That's right.
A Thor H and a Dragonfly H. Then a Treb 5S, the Hermes 3S1, Spider 8M. My vehicles, I had a Shrek PPC carrier with those 3 beautiful PPCs, the SRM carrier for a bit of high damage rolling, and then a heavy hover APC just to carry my infantry. And I had, so this is previous to the whole infantry bump, but I had a heavy infantry, heavy urban, blah, 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 blah. One with the 220 that does 2 heat. And then I had
They look like ODST from Halo, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, they're all like, "Oh, we were heavy infantry." And then I had an Achilles light battle armor because they can never get killed, basically.
Just realized you tricked me with the whole Nova Blackhawk thing, and I don't appreciate that.
Well, I was just going down the Innisphere line, but then I thought, oh no, Mike's on. I have to use the clan names. Fine.
Well, yeah, you called it Nova first, and then you're like, oh no, for Mike the Black. Yeah, you did it backwards, and you tricked me, and I don't appreciate that.
Just for you, Mike.
Mike's not just a snob. Can't even follow his own rules.
Hey, look, man. I looked away for 2 seconds, got distracted. My bad.
Squirrel. Yeah, so it was about half and half as far as there was a little bit more Innisphere in there just because I had the infantry and the vehicles and stuff. But, well, I'll just run into my games real quick. My first game I played against Chandler from the old On the Origin of Battle Mechs / Armored Up. So that was a fun game. We played Domination, and my units happened to survive his shots. It was pretty much a matter of dice rolls, where I had some pretty fast units. I mean, I had my Spider and my Hermes, which gets a 4 TMM on the middle objective marker. So those had a pretty high TMM, and then I had other stuff like flying everywhere and stuff. So had pretty high TMMs and had 3. I'd already secured 3 of the 4 that I needed in the first round or in the first turn. And the second one, I thought he would kill my Hermes and a couple other things, just because he had quite a bit of firepower in the right places. But I managed to get out to the 4th objective area with my Hermes, and he survived with 1 pip of structure left. So secured the 4th one, and so it was round 2 win. But it was kind of just luck on my part. Which ended up coming kind of karma-wise back around to bite me in the butt the whole rest of the weekend. So, that was a good win against Chandler. Fun to play against Chandler. Nice dude. So, first time I met him, it was nice. So, game 2 was Headhunter. Played against Phil, also from Charlie Company. So, shout out to Charlie Company because my first 2 games were against them. We played Headhunters. So he did kind of a tricky thing with his commanders for Headhunter. He made them his 2 little infantry, and then we happened to be playing on the map with the new buildings from the Alpha Strike box set, and he put his little infantry, his commanders, back in the very back corners of the map, the 2 corners of the map, then placed a building in front of them so that the corners hit each side of the map. So basically, to get to his commanders, I had to go up and over them, which I did have 1 or 2 jumping mechs, but I'd have to go up and over, clearing the corner, and the whole time he was just using them as initiative sinks. So it was a pretty interesting tactic, and I hadn't really seen that before. And afterwards, Phil actually sent out a thing saying, it shouldn't be like this. There should be some space where you could get behind the building, which, I totally agree. But yeah, he used the rules to his advantage and had a list really built for kind of having an initiative edge, but also he had some really fast units as well. Now I'm trying to remember them what he had. He had 1 monster tank.
Pretty Desgra.
He had 1 monster tank that did like 770, and I'm trying to remember. I'm not going to remember it, but. Yeah, so he had a big tank that dealt a lot of damage, and then he also had his own Black Hawk to really pump out some damage with overheat as well. But
Nova.
Black Hawk.
So yeah, I only actually took 4 units on that one, trying to use some maneuverability and keeping all of my damage kind of in a small constrained space to kind of knock out his units really quickly. But he ended up blowing my Nova off the board the very first round with some concentrated fire, which was really bad for me. And then I had my Dragonfly and my Thor as my commanders, and they were jumping around doing okay, but just overall he had a Dasher running around and stuff, and just over time he kind of whittled me down until I just had my Dragonfly left, and I finally got back to 1 of his commanders, and that turn fired a mist, of course, at his commanders, but it took me out. So it was a rough game, but only a sign of things to come. So
it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, it only kind of went downhill. Well, there's some up and down, but yeah. The third game was Bunkers, and I played against Tommy from the WNRP. So yeah, another podcast battle. And Tommy was really fun. I think we don't hear enough of him on their podcast, which just sitting across the table from him was really awesome. He's a super nice guy, fun to talk with.
He is the silent Sea Raven.
He is the silent Sea Raven, but in person you wouldn't know it because he's very, very sociable and stuff like that.
Tommy's a good dude. Photobombed the hell out of us.
Yeah, he did.
He's got the skills, the photobomb skills. So we played Bunkers for game 3, and I made a crucial mistake actually with the terrain game. And so I set up the terrain so that I put my SRM carrier up on a hill in the back of my area. But I didn't place the hill in between my 2 bunkers in the back. So I wasn't thinking about this, but essentially I wanted my SRM carrier to have line of sight for between both bunkers if they got close or anything. But what it ended up being is that he could drop his infantry off and be at one bunker, but then fire in through the door of the other bunker and destroy it at the same time. So Tommy didn't really go for kills or anything. He just went for the bunkers, which is the name of the game. And it kind of went down to the wire where I was kind of deleting his units each turn. But he destroyed one bunker with his infantry and then destroyed the other one shooting across to the other bunker. Then I got 2 infantry in, so we're at this turn where my infantry are gonna blow up 2 of them. But then he only has 2 units left, and in total they can do 10 points of damage, and my last bunker has 10 points of damage left. So yeah, I tabled him as he beat me. So that was kind of discouraging because it was exactly what there was only 10 points left, and he had exactly 10 points left. So it was a great game with Tommy, but yeah, I kind of felt dumb for missing the terrain thing there.
It is the game within the game.
That's what they keep telling me. I don't know if I believe that, but I did get owned on it. So, let's see.
So he's a slight believer.
Slight.
Happy.
I'm not sure if
Skeptical.
I'm a happy believer, but yes, it is something that can be done.
Terrain agnostic.
Game 4. See, we played Hold the Line, and I played against Matt. So Max's dad here in Colorado. And we had a really good game, and it was just kind of back and forth. And I managed to have my SRM carrier and my PPC carrier both back to kind of guard my 3 tokens. And then everything else went up and went after his tokens. And that game, my vehicles did a lot of work. So the SRM carrier and the PPC carrier just kind of hid behind a hill and just kind of kept things away from my tokens. And I was able to go out and, with the very last round, get all four points from the 3 tokens in that game.
Did you upgrade the skills on your vehicles?
Yep, I sure did. So both the Shrek and the SRM carrier were just skill 3s because it's only 30 and 31 points. So they're kind of a steal of a deal at skill 3.
And the SRM is a 4/4 or 5/5 damage profile?
The SRM is a 660.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. So a skill 3 660 is if you can keep them alive, because it's only
Gross.
2 armor, 3 damage. They can delete units. So that's why I use them as kind of a defensive force.
So they only have 5 hit points.
Yeah, they only have 5 hit points. So you got to be careful with that SRM carrier. And then the Shrek is great because it's got 3 at long range. 3 short, medium, and long. So
yeah, I love Shreks.
Yeah, they've got armor to take some hits. So yeah, and that was actually what I was trying to do. Is if I was using the PPC carrier, I would just put it somewhere where it's got line of sight for a lot of the field, and then I would just hold down, or at least I would try to hold down. So when I was playing Tommy that game, I missed the hold down roll 4 times in a row. So all you have to roll is a 7 to do it.
Yeah.
And every time I miss. So that was kind of stinky. But but they're great for getting somewhere where they've got line of sight on a large part of the field and then just letting them go. So they're great vehicles. Yeah. So I ended up
build boxes.
Yeah, exactly. You just put them somewhere and they turn into a bill box. So I won the hold the line match with Matt. It was great fun. I had the defensive force to kind of keep him off my stuff. So then game 5, another podcast match against Mr.
And you just had them all.
Yeah, I had 4 out of the 5. I faced up with Mr. Charles Gideon himself. So the lore master. And
Colorado scrub. As we all know.
Colorado scrub. So that game, the old karma came back and bit me in the butt. So he had some pretty hot dice, and he took out both my SRM carrier and my Shrek in the first round, just right off the bat.
Ouch.
Yeah, so then I was facing his 2 Jess 2s with his little C3 vehicle driving around behind me with just 3 units left. So that was really, really a tough game because it was we were playing King of the Hill, and so he had basically 2 quick little VTOLs, bringing in 2 sets of battle armor, and then the Jess 2s and a couple other units. And I just couldn't hit those. I couldn't immediately delete those TMM 4 and 5 VTOLs, and they were landing each turn on the King of the Hill, so there was pretty hard to knock them out and get my own units out there. So anyways, it didn't go well. He won, but it was kind of turned into a closer game at the end as I knocked out one of his Jess 2s and took out. I immobilized one of his VTOLs. I took out both the battle armor, but then he had a crab and he had the C3 going, and so eventually he just wasted me at the last. He needed like 1 pip to destroy me, and it just happened that his last little unit got the 1 pip. So another round, I might have deleted a bunch of more of his stuff, and it may have had a chance, but he took all 4 points off of that. So It was a good game, though. Charles is always great. And that's actually the first time I've played Charles, so it was fun.
I think Charles might have played everybody from the podcast now. Has he played you yet, John?
Giddy Up, and I haven't played yet.
Okay.
Giddy Up,
so
Gideon.
1 to go.
No. Yeah, I have to take him on with FedCom now.
I think this is the first tournament I've been in that Charles and I didn't play each other.
Yeah, I know. You played quite a diverse crew there, Ben. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess.
While we're talking,
What was that?
while we're talking about Charles, I think he killed the most of any player.
He did.
in
He
LBO,
was.
is that right?
Oh,
What was
yeah,
his
Charles
nickname?
is a serial killer.
Yeah, serial killer. That's right.
Serial killer.
Yeah. Props to
With
him.
a C, not with a S.
That's right. He even went to the cereal shop just to kill.
You're welcome, Charles.
As far as how my list performed overall, I took it as kind of a fun list. I mean, I did have some things that I wanted the vehicles to do specifically, and some kind of scenario wise what the infantry was there for. But I took it more because it was fun. I liked all the units that I had on my list, and 2 and 3. I mean, I was kind of 1 pip away from winning another one, and maybe just 1 turn away from at least being in another one. But yeah, overall had a ton of fun with that. And we could talk more about the whole LVO experience. But that, as far as my games and lists, that's what happened.
Hell yeah. Ben,
Nice, man.
next.
My list, going into LVO, building my list out, I was trying to figure out, I knew I wanted to play Davian. I started off with Dark Age, played around with it a little bit, and finally moved into the Ill Clan era because I was like, you know what, let's represent the current timeline and see what we can get into. So my list was an Ares Hera, a Sagittaire 10X, a Rifleman 8D, a Shadowhawk 5D, a Fireball 10D, a squad of Infiltrator Mark II Battle Armor Magnetic, Grenadier Battle Armor Heavy Flamers, 2 of those, 2 Cavalry Attack Helicopters, Infantry Variant, a Gabriel Reconnaissance Hovercraft. I also brought Spec Ops Paratroopers, MI6 Extraction Team Squad, and I had a J-27 Ordnance Transport with a gun trailer that was the Ultra AC variant. So, my list, I was trying to do a lot of different stuff with it. I knew I didn't want to mess with artillery going into this because I'm just not that big of a fan of playing with artillery. I think there's a lot of cheap ass points there. And if you got artillery in your list, come at me, bro.
Boom.
You know, it's one of those things. I think it's just a gimmicky thing that you know, I think a lot of folks rely on, and it does work for a lot of the fast units and stuff, but it's just not for me. That's just my opinion.
Well, also, didn't you have a change after the practice? Was it the practice event?
No, it was we did that event in December where I had a Typhoon rack variant and a Jess 1 missile carrier that I just wasn't real keen on. They're the Typhoon rack was very Davian-esque, but the Jess 1 wasn't doing it for me. And so
then you faced a dual.
I faced a dual Ares, and I was like, you know what? I don't know if I can do the dual, but let me try one out and see how it goes. You know, and I just wanted to paint one up because I thought it'd be cool. So that was my list going into LVO. A lot of the stuff, my list performed pretty well. I think I ended up 3-2 out of the whole thing. I lost my first match and my last match, and I won the 3 in the middle. But everything was pretty close, and there was a lot of competition at LVO. Especially starting off day 1, game 1, I get paired up with Mario. So, and Mario and I think Mario and I faced each other in my first ever tournament in round 1, and he just destroyed me. And I'd been playing Alp Strike for like maybe a month. I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing, but you know, I'm having a lot more fun not knowing what I know. So me and Mario got paired up, and of course it started with shots, and then we started playing. So I think the shot we took was hit me around the time when I lost the game. So it kind of played out the way it should have, I guess. It was good. It was a domination game. For domination, I ended up bringing in Sagittaire, the Rifleman, the Fireball, both the Cavalries, the Gabriel, and then the gun trailer and the J-27. And I used the gun trailer mainly as a rear defensive mechanism for those 2 domination points on my end. It throws 3 at short and 3 at medium, and it just sits there, So I just parked it in the middle, and it had range to both the pips or both the oats if he tried to get into them. That was my theory, at least. And then using the cavalries as harassers and the fireball to go take oats, and then the Sagittaire is just something to focus fire on. And it actually worked out pretty decently against Mario. Where the game got decided was the very last round when he had moved on to, he had control of 2 oats, and he had moved on to my 2 back oats. And I had the distance to jump the Sagittaire onto the oat and contest it. But instead, I went for the kill on the vehicle of his opponent that he was running against me. And I failed to kill it, and he won the game. So
ouch.
I think that was the lowest point MOV spread, too, because I think he killed 31 points of mine, and I think I killed 26 of his or 42 of his, something like that. It was very low. We still had most of our units on the board at the end of the game, so it was kind of a weird
drinking with the enemy, Benjamin.
I know, right? That's what happened.
Fraternizing.
I was fraternizing, trying to have a good time, and it just didn't work out well. And Mario's a top tier player. He's been playing this stuff for a long time, and he's been winning a lot of tournaments and stuff. So
yeah, he only ended up winning the whole thing. So
right. It was a good matchup.
Man. I'm not having it.
But I think I definitely showed him that I have definitely improved since our first meeting. So that was the first round of domination. The next round, I ended up playing a guy named Patrick, who was from Seattle, and he was brand new to the Alpha Strike scene. He picked up the Alpha Strike box 2 weeks prior to LVO.
Props to you, Patrick. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And
I appreciate the dedication.
Everything painted up, and we really had a really fun game because it was a lot of back and forth where he was trying to figure out things, and I just kind of worked him. I didn't work him over, but I didn't really take it easy on him either. So we had a good game of Headhunter. I ran against. He had a good mix of heavy and assault mechs. There was a King Crab, an Atlas, a Stalker, a Warhammer, and a Blackjack against my Ares, a Sagittaire, a Fireball, and my Shadowhawk. So I think he ended up. I think he killed the Ares because he kind of focused on the Ares the whole entire time.
Well, that should be an award right there.
Yeah, I think he killed it, or he had it down to 1 or 2 pips of structure left, and that was it. It was hurting. But I ended up dropping one of his commanders. Yeah, I think I only won that by 1 objective point, 1-0 on that one. So, but it was a good game, and Patrick was a good sport, and he's really interested in learning about the game and stuff. So it was a fun game.
Nice, man. Props to Patrick.
Yeah, definitely.
Newbies coming out for tournaments.
Absolutely. Yeah, and he was asking a lot of good questions, and he's got a good set of tactics skills on him. So he's going to be a fun competitor in the future. My third game was Bunkers. I ended up playing Max's dad, Matt, which from the way he says it, he's only been playing for about a month. Max built his list for him, so it was a pretty formidable list. And we had a good game. He asked a lot of good questions too. I think by turn 3, I was able to knock off one of his bunkers and get into the second one, and he was getting into my first one, I think it was. Or it came down to it was like 2-1 at the end. But it was a hard fought game. There's a lot of he had a lot of infantry on the board. He had a little Urban Beck launching arrow for artillery the whole time until I started taking some of my cavalries over there and messing with it a little bit. And it was about even on the margin of victory for that one. And then the fourth game, I played Hold the Line with Max. Max, for those of you in the Springs that know Max, it's a very tactical game, especially when he likes to bring his Annihilator out and sit it on top of a hill that has clear fields of fire for the whole board.
I saw a lot of pictures.
The whole board,
yeah.
Just sit there, and it was a good game. I managed to take down both of his Hellmechs, and then I snaked one of his tokens on Hold the Line with the fireball, and that came down to like a 1-0 score. So it was a pretty intense game. It went all the way down to the wire, and I think I took the token on the last turn. His taking out his hells kind of hurt him a little bit because he didn't have the fast movers to get behind me and stuff. So that kind of helped me out on that one. And then the fifth game I played was King of the Hill, and that was against Metal Ed from Wolf's Net, Charlie Company, Cider Company. Go team. This was a rough game for me because Ed had a lot of stuff he put on the board. I think he had about 11 or 12 units. I mean, I know that he put a Charger out there and a Rifleman, 2 SRM carriers, some Savannah Masters with some battle armor attached to them. I mean, it was cats and dogs living together. It was mass hysteria. He made it to the circle in the first turn and snaked a point, and I only had I had my Sagittaire, my Rifleman, my Shadowhawk, and the Fireball, and I think that was it. And I didn't want to run the Fireball out there the first turn because he would have gotten shot at by both SRM carriers and a bunch of other shit that I was like, no, let's keep him alive for a little bit longer. So I let him have the point, and then it just started going downhill from there because I just couldn't keep up at that point. So lesson learned there, just take the point when you can and see if you let luck decide. So
and Ed ended up in the top 5, I think, right?
Yeah, he did. I think he was like 4th or 5th, maybe.
So another high, very competitor.
Yeah. I think if I had to change anything on my list, I probably would have dumped the Ares out again. I didn't use it enough in the scenarios that I really didn't need it, and I could have used the Typhoon or the Jess 1 for something else, So I would have changed that for sure. And then my list took a little hit with the mole update. I think I ended up being 14 points over. I was at 364 with the mole update after LVO. So that scraps all those ideas. But I think it was cool because I wanted to try out the whole Cavalry Grenadier combo, and that turned out to be a really good combo to use. I wanted to try a power drop with the MI6 Spec Ops guys at least once, just because I thought it'd be fun. And I just love a Sagittaire and a Fireball combo. So
you do like your Sagittaire.
I do like my Sagittaire. So that was my 5 games.
Right on.
Mike, how about you, buddy?
So for LVO, I brought some Dark Age Killhounds. Let's see, with a Savage Wolf B, Ice Ferret J, thanks Charles, a Pouncer G, a Rifleman 7N2, Wolfhound 6S, Cardinal Transport VTOL, which looks dope by the way. Also, it's huge. It doesn't fit in any of the foam trays I've got.
Yeah, that Cardinal is massive.
It's huge. It's heavy, but it looks dope, man. Also painted the day before. Saxon APC, a Kukulane support armor, and 1 shot of OBA, the 9 PV version. So game 1, domination, same as everyone else. Played against Luke Rolfs. He was sporting a Rosselhog Dominion army. I think there was quite a few Rosselhog Dominion armies out there for that event. Domination being a game of speed. He had his 2 fire moths out on the field. Pretty sure it was dual fire moths. Pretty sure it was the P and the H version.
Yep.
I killed one of his fire moths on turn 1 and damaged the other, which means I just did 1 shot to it. And I was never able to knock out that second fire moth, and that's what did me in. I just could never keep up with it. When you're facing a dual fire moth list, you got to get them both on turn 1 or you're screwed.
Yep. Indeed.
The game did go to time, so it wasn't necessarily, an easy game. But he did get all 4 objectives. But yeah, well-fought game. Let's see. Game 2, Headhunter. My opponent was Max, also from here in Colorado Springs. Same as everyone else. The game was rough, man.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Good player.
Yeah, Max is solid. He, with his new signature deployment, like Ben mentioned, and Andrew was a big fan of sharing it, twice to the Facebook page? Yeah. Deploying the Annihilator on top of a hill. We were on the moon map. Placed his Annihilator on top of a level 2 hill. And yeah, it just had the whole site. He came to that fight with 10 units. And I came with 4 for Headhunter. So I was already severely outnumbered. The Annihilator on the hill shooting 9-10-9. The Timberwolf W shooting like 7-7 something. And a King Crab on the field. I just couldn't keep up with it. He did a great job, was super sneaky. Similar to somewhat of what Matt dealt with. He had one of his... So the Annihilator was a commander, and he made like this little like J27 pickup truck a commander. He had, for the terrain for our table, he had kind of like a U-shaped hill, and he put it right up in his deployment zone and kept the truck inside the U-shape. So I was never able to see it, which, hey, good on you. Use the rules to your favor. It's a tournament. Do what you can to win. So I respect that. But definitely did make it hard. Yeah, I eventually dropped, after a lot of work, dropped the Timberwolf W, and I put a lot of damage on the Annihilator, but I mean, it wasn't enough. The war of attrition got me. I was at a disadvantage from the get-go just off numbers, because most of my stuff was a bit more expensive. He had a lot of cheap trucks and cheap infantry to zoom around, sync initiative, and try and get in the back. I think he made 1 or 2 anti-mech attempts, but failed both of them. But yeah, he won the day for Headhunter, because I just couldn't hack it. Numbers were definitely in his favor. Game 3, Bunkers, played Paolo. Paolo, super good player, super fun to play against. He was my vote for best painted. His ghost bears were absolutely beautiful. So shout out to you, Paolo, on that one. If I'm not mistaken, is a relatively newer player, at least to Alpha Strike. But he's a guy that's just full of joy and is a lot of fun to play with. Again, Bunkers being a game of speed and infantry. He also had a dual fire moths with some battle armor on there. Again, I was able to kill one on turn 1, but not the second one. And so he was able to get infantry down to my bunkers real fast. He had one in there by turn 2. He killed 2 of my bunkers. I killed one of his, and then he did 5 points of damage to my third bunker, ultimately earning him the 3 objective points. and I got 1 out of that one. Super good game. Let's see. Game 4, Hold the Line against Topa. Let's see. It was my only win of the event, and he made me work for it. For Hold the Line, I brought my Ice Ferret, J, Wolfhound 6S, Pouncer G, Saxon APC, and Kukulanes. Topa he hopped into the event to even it out. He was originally, from my understanding, there to run the BTCC. When we had uneven numbers show up for the Alpha Strike tournament, he hopped in to make sure no one had a bye. So good on you, Topa. No one likes a bye, especially when we've gotten a good amount of time allotted for lunch, which we did, which was appreciated. But so he was running a list. I think that was put together by either it was by Bloodbath, if I'm not mistaken. It was a lore fluffy list. So his Hold the Line list was an Executioner, a Warhawk, a Timberwolf, a Summoner, and he severely outmassed me because I was running lights and mediums, and that's it. And he parked the Timberwolf, Warhawk, and Executioner on the Hold the Line objective templates, which is what you probably should do when you've got that much mass, versus not a lot of mass. So good call, sir. But we were on a Mars map, and there was a lot of line of sight blocking terrain. So my rear guard, which was the Wolfhound and the Pouncer, they were my rear guard playing defense. He moved his Summoner up, and those two were slowly working him down. And because of the terrain, for the majority of the time, I was able to block line of sight to his rear guard to protect him. Because for this list, for the Headhunter, hold the line. For the Hold the Line team, I had no long range value. It was all short and medium. So I definitely had to block line of sight to his rear guard because he had all the long range. But I was able to get his Summoner out. The Ice Ferret Kukulane worked up my left side of the board, dropped the Executioner, and then they scored the template. Then the rear guard started moving up because the Ice Ferret was out in the open versus very heavy rear guard. It dropped pretty quick. I was able to score an anti-mech attack on the Executioner in the process. And then we just slowly worked down the line through the Warhawk, then the Timberwolf. It was one of my probably favoriteest moments. So the Saxon APC, after it had deployed, the infantry, and it does 0-star in short, and that's it. It was immobilized 1 inch away from the center objective template, which is worth 2 points. It was immobilized 1 inch away, so it couldn't get to it.
But just 1 inch?
Yeah, 1 inch away. I think I shared the photo in a couple places, but literally immobilized via motive hit 1 inch away from the template by the Timberwolf after I had dropped the Warhawk. And it was just reaching for the template and couldn't do shit about it.
Can't quite get there.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Like I said, it was probably my favorite funny moment from the entire tournament. I ended up winning 4-0 on that one. And it came down to his Timberwolf versus my Wolfhound. They both mechs survived the last round after I scored the template. Super solid game. Like I said, he made me work for it. Let's see. Game 5, King of the Hill, Mr. Bradley Prophet from the Florida crew. And this is for you, Brad. If you ain't Cav, you ain't shit, right? There it is. All right, so King of the Hill, similar to how mine and Ben's game was for, I think it was Copo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just mad rush to the center and just an all-out death brawl on the center template. So I like to play King of the Hill the way it was intended to be. And that is just exactly that, mad dash murder fest. And that's what we did. So cheers to you, Brad. For this one, I brought my Savage Wolf, Ice Ferret, and Pouncer, my three units, right? A heavy, and what's that, two mediums? Let's see. Bradley brought a Mad Dog with artillery, a Fire Moth, and some battle armor. I think it was salamanders. A Nova and a Turkina. The Turkina was a skill 6, which is how he was able to fit it in, which I wasn't expecting because I just saw the Turkina and was like, oh, shit.
Oh, here we go.
And then it was a skill 6 and it missed a lot. And I was like, oh, thank God. But it was still a fairly even game, and it came down to the last dice roll. I scored my only headshot of the entire event on his Nova, and he was talking about before we even started that his dice were just ice cold all day. So at the end of the game, since I knew there was a pair of dice that was capable of rolling 12s, since it scored the headshot, and it was the Valhalla Club dice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh no!
I gave the 12s Valhalla Club dice to him at the end of the game. I think he earned them. But
okay. For a second, I thought he was going to roll a 12 against you on your own dice.
Yeah,
like, oh no,
I gave it to him after the game. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But it was a picture perfect King of the Hill finale, mutually assured destruction. We tabled each other on the exact last shot. His Mad Dog versus my Savage Wolf. He won the game for objectives because I couldn't compete with the Turkina's mass for a couple rounds. It was a great game overall. This was the second game where I had a list with OBA, and I remembered to shoot it this time because I think it was game 2. I had OBA in my list, and because the OBA card was on the back of my laminated sheet, I forgot about it. And it might have, had I remembered on game 2, it might have changed something. You never know.
Dasher, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Plus it's meat shield, you know. But so I remembered the OBA for game 5, but it was a lot of fun. But yeah, so that was my. I ended up at the pretty close to the bottom, but I mean, I didn't come to win. I came to have fun, meet people, and that's 100% what I did. It was a great time overall. But that was my first, big time LVO, or not specific, first big time 350 tournament experience outside of Colorado with the actual WNRP crew. 10 out of 10 would do again in a heartbeat.
I felt the same
That's
way.
awesome, I'm sorry you had to face 4 dashers in one day. I mean, even I'd be like, cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of dashers, man. Which is a solid tactic. I didn't bring any plasma. I didn't bring any dashers. I didn't bring any field medics. I did take the lesson learned from our practice game on the December 10th event, because remember I had 3 high PV units for that list, and I did drop it down. Yeah, I did drop it down to 2, to where it was just the Mad Cat, Savage Wolf B, and the Ice Ferret J, because in my original list I had a very expensive Mad Dog as well, so I dropped that one, and that's where I put in the Cardinal, because the Cardinal was nice because it shoots 1-2-1. So there were times where I used it as a regular unit, not even a transport, because it had decent medium range value for TMM3 +1 for being airborne. So, but yeah, those were my games played. Obviously, didn't work that great. I didn't get to practice with it at all because I made those changes, ordered the parts, and then went to the field on no notice. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Everyone I met was great. The night before, how many people did we have in? Was that Topa's room? Whose room? Whoever's
Yeah, it
room that
Toby's
was.
room. Yeah, we had about 20 people in there, I think.
Yeah, it was.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, guys. I don't worry about that part.
It was a Roman orgy. Don't worry about that.
Not when you've got how many? Like what? 12 podcasters in one room.
I know.
Ain't nothing staying there.
Yeah,
All of us there with Papa Andrew.
Yep.
Yeah.
Come around my knee and listen. We need to chat. Have a serious talk. Man, we're fucking drinking. We ain't got time for that shit.
We had all the podcasts in one room with the exception of, or at least all the podcasts represented in one room with the exception of Mech Bay, that at least at that time, that I'm aware of.
Throw down the gauntlet. Josh.
Yeah.
I think Andrew or Aaron.
It was Coach.
Coach texted him while we were there and was like, "Hey, we got a quorum. We're making changes."
Yeah, he put that in the Mech Bay Discord while we were there.
Meeting of the families.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where that night, the night before, that's where I got to meet like Coach for the first time, Andrew for the first time. It was a lot of fun. All super nice people. That's where I first met Metal Ed, Sean Goolsby. I definitely I'm still perplexed when both Metal Ed and Mr. Goolsby came up and were like, "Hey, can you sign my Alpha Strike book?" I'm like, "But me? I'm a nobody, dude. I don't know what to do here. Like, where do I sign? How do I do this? I don't know." It was really cool. Still perplexed by it, but I appreciate you guys thinking I'm cool enough to sign your book. You know.
I was like, we were going around the room introducing ourselves, and it came to me, and I was like, "Hey, I'm BourBen," and like Chandler sits up, he's like, "You're BourBen? Oh my god, I thought you'd be older."
Just my knees and back.
Yeah, that's it. Just my knees and back, bro. Been carrying this podcast for so long.
Oh,
damn.
No, I'm just kidding.
Jarhead's got jokes.
But on that note,
I know. I had to pick on John.
On that note, I think that we did just all the social time and just being around everybody that we've kind of like gotten to know, but not in person. It was just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the kind of the social aspect as well as the gaming, but really when you like have a chance after like 5 straight games of Alpha Strike and you sit back and relax and just kind of like just chat. You really get to know the people a lot more, and it was really enjoyable. I really enjoyed meeting all the people, and that's kind of I don't know about you guys, but I would recommend people give one of these big cons a chance, and especially LVO being in Las Vegas. If the Colorado crew, if any of you guys out there are wondering if it's worth it, I would say give it a go at least once and see what it's like. We had a blast. I know Ben and I had a really good time. I'll let Ben speak for himself, but I had a really good time. Even with Ben and I and Gideon like driving 26 hours in 4 days. So that was interesting. But being there was a blast, and you kind of like. I mean, we were inundated with 40K guys. That's the big thing there. But there was still a really good, really nice Battletech community. Lots of people coming over and saying hi. Oh, this is Battletech. I used to play this, and this is so awesome that you guys are here, and lots of other stuff. So as far as the social aspect, it was great.
And that's fun. You bring that up, Matt. Cool. Well, first of all, that was your first convention, right?
Yeah, it's my first convention ever, really.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Mike, what about you?
Yeah, it was also my first convention. So I got into Battletech, I think at this point, almost 2-ish years ago.
With the height of COVID when conventions.
I mean, I was into it as a kid and didn't realize it with the Dark Age clicks. But then, high school and life, this, that, and the other. But like actually really like deep dive into it, hence being on a podcast. That was my first actual convention. It was super awesome. It was a great experience. And like just so like the first time Charles gave us a shout out on WNRP long time back, like a year ago at this point, for really jump starting the Colorado scene. And like I paused it and like, not that my wife gives a shit at all, but I'm like, listen, this dude that's been doing on this podcast for like 2 years, like just like a fanboy moment, like this dude like mentioned me by name, like freaking out. Oh my God. but like being able to meet all these people that I've been listening to over the past year and a half, 2 years, again, fanboy moment, like, it was super cool. Everyone was super awesome. The community remains being great, and a very healthy, very respectful community. And that's 100% what I love about it. Like I said, I didn't go to win. I went to meet everyone and have a good time, and that is 110% what happened. And I would absolutely do it again. So I would go into Matt's point, would absolutely recommend going to a big con. I didn't drive. I flew. I flew round trip on Frontier for $50 round trip. And that was just taking me back to the prices I was used to for flying Ryanair when I was stationed in Europe. The flights were nice. Don't expect to have a reclining seat because it's Frontier, but it's a 2-hour flight. So who cares? The savings is what mattered. But yeah, so whether you're flying or driving, however you get there, definitely try to get, if you haven't been to one yet, get to a big convention. You got a DexCon coming up, and then Gen Con. It's all going to be great. Highly recommend.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. Like, I think the first night we were there, Matt, we were walking out of the hotel room, and like we just happened to go in the same way as a bunch of 40K guys. Mm-hmm. Like, they started asking me, like, "Hey, what are you playing? Are you playing Kill Team? Are you playing what?" I'm like, "Man, I don't know what any of those words mean, but I'm just here to play some BattleTech, dude." He's like, "Oh, you're here to play BattleTech? That's so awesome, dude! You guys got some awesome looking miniatures coming out." I'm like, "Yeah, man." I was like, "You guys should jump on the bandwagon here."
Yeah, switch on over. Yeah, it was great to it was all positive. I as far as meeting all the people and just a general interest in the game was fantastic.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
He's catching on. I'm starting a trend. No, it's I think it was really cool. The 40K gets a lot of bad rap for its community, I guess, and just from what I understand, I've never played a game of 40K, so I have no freaking idea. But everybody I met at LVO that was playing 40K was either really chilled out or paid us no mind. So it wasn't like we were getting harassed or anything like that. So,
but it was bullied by the 40K nerds.
Yeah, pulling up with all their giant miniatures and stuff, whatever that is.
Like 4,000 of them. That there were so many guys there. It was crazy.
I tell you what, taking away some of their ideas, though, man, that little cart that a lot of them have, those little collapsible carts to move all their minis around and stuff on, that's not a bad idea.
I liked it.
Me trying to pack everything in a backpack and then carry a case of minis and stuff, I was like, you guys might be doing this for a while, so I'm going to take some tips from you guys. But yeah, I thought I was pretty cool. This is not my first rodeo on the convention scene, and linking up with a lot of guys. I was really impressed with the amount of players that came from Colorado that were kind of the first time at the big events. I mean, seeing Max and his dad, that was kind of a cool dad moment there. That was kind of a neat little trip, I thought, and just talking with Max and his dad after Friday night after we were eating dinner and stuff was really cool. Seeing a lot of the folks.
Yeah. Way to show up, Colorado. I mean, that's awesome. Yeah. I think we had 10 players get down to Vegas.
You look at the list of 30 players and 10 of them are from Colorado, and 6 of them are from the Colorado Springs area. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so we had, we had Damien, we had Josh, David, Mike, Alex, and ourselves, Matt and BourBen, and then Max and Matt. So yeah, a good crew from Colorado.
Yeah, that was fantastic to see those guys come out there.
It was a great day, a lot of fun. Then the next day, so Saturday, we did some live play testing for Coach there with some Alpha Strike doubles tournament where it was teams of 2, and hence doubles. With each player had the full 350 on the board, so 1400 PV on the table. It was twice the size map, and it was running. At least the first game. I was there for the first one, but it was Let's see, where's it at?
Headhunter.
Headhunter.
2 scenarios plus Headhunter was every.
Yeah, two scenarios. Yep. So for that one, so for that day, I was only able to play one game because I flew out that afternoon. So I was only able to play one. I was teamed up with Patrick, and we played Paolo and Sam. Let's see. So for that one, so doubles was a lot of fun. It's a little difficult tracking objective points when you've got three scenarios going on at once. But it wasn't too terribly difficult. As always, I'm a big fan of large PV games. For round one, it was Headhunter Domination and King of the Hill. And I placed our King of the Hill template on the top of a level 2 hill, which makes it a certified death zone. Because no matter where you are, you can see that hill, and a lot of metal died on it. Because Sam and Paolo were kind of like moving up like one assault at a time, and it would just get focus fire by 5-6 medium heavy assaults in the process and just instantaneously drop.
Brutal.
So the joke was like, at least three assaults and one heavy were killed defending, like trying to take that King of the Hill template, effectively making it a level 3 hill just because so much shit died on it.
The dead bodies piling up.
Yeah, it was like that moment, and was it Hour of the Wolf with the Jade Falcons versus the
Old Guard.
Yeah, versus the Old Guard, where they just circled up and there's just a wall of death.
Yeah,
and that's what it turned into. So that was a lot of fun. So that was the only doubles game I was able to participate in. What about Matt, Ben? How was the rest of your doubles day?
I'll let Ben go because he played doubles. I played the BTCC, but I'll let Ben go first.
Yeah, so me and David got paired up as we were walking down the hall.
Was that random?
That was complete. Coach came up. He's like, "Hey, what's your team name?" We're like, "What? For what?" He's like, "Oh, for the doubles game." I was like, "Oh yeah. Wait, do you want me and Dave paired up?" He's like, "Yeah. You guys just pair up." I'm like, "Okay. Are you sure about this?" And he's like, "Yeah, because Dave's got 2 Aries in his list, and I've got an Aries in mine. So yeah, it'll be fine."
Learning is a data point.
Yep, it was a data point. So Dave and I got paired up with our lists, and having 3 Aries in the list, we had a team name of AAA, because we'll come and fix your broken down vehicle if you need it. And so we got paired up. The first game we played against the Gunsberg Eagles team. I can't remember the 2 guys that were on that team, but that was the game where David managed to get an Aries onto the King of the Hill oat.
Achievement unlocked.
Called it the truffle shuffle the whole way there, So it was pretty interesting playing in doubles, because it's trying to meld your tactics with your teammate now that you've already got a specific set of tactics for your 350 or your 200 point stuff, and you know what that can do, but you don't know what your teammate can do. So I think it was a very interesting game. I can't remember what the points were on that or anything like that, but I know we ended up winning, not by a whole lot, but we went to time, and I think domination, we had 3 domination points, I think. Well, 4 because of the King of the once he got his Aries into the King of the Hills oat. So but it was a good game. It was trying to figure out like how to do the movement, because the movement was what took the longest until in the first game, at least, till we figured out, hey, you know what, let's just group them up. And that's what we started doing in the first game, was we just started grouping them up in like little teams of 4. So when it came up to move, you just move 4 of your units, and that made the movement phase go a little bit faster. Game 2, we played the Spicy Noobs, which was Sam and Paolo, which was a great game. Headhunter, capture the flag, and hold the line. That was the game where, up until that point, Dave and I had a kind of a good back and forth of how to deploy his artillery and where we were going to do stuff. And Dave, I'm going to talk some shit now because I deserve it. I deserve the shit talking after what happened. Dave took it upon himself to decide where his artillery was going to strike, and he put it on one of the captures to the flag points that had two of Paolo's dashers, two of his elemental points, one of my Gabriels, one of my cavalry helicopters that had landed and deployed my grenadiers.
David
And
Heartless.
he missed the artillery drop, and it shifted 2 inches onto my units.
Oh no! Oh fuck!
He killed the artillery, or he killed the Gabriel outright, and he completely stripped the armor on the cavalry that Paolo was able to finish off that turn, and then he killed off the grenadiers that
Friendly
turn.
fire.
And I was like, damn close, bro. What are we doing here?
How big was the smile on Paolo's face when it just drifted 2 inches away from him and towards you? Like,
He was just like, oh, thank God it missed me. Oh, it missed you. It hit you. Oh, that's too bad. You know.
Oh, darn.
It was fantastic. It was good. So that was a rough one, but I ended up hunting his dashers down that were denuded a little bit, and able to wipe them off the board and remake the flag point, because Paolo ended up grabbing the flag and he was rushing it back to his home base on his side, and I ended up hunting him down with a fireball and killing the dasher it was infantry. It was infantry. Yeah, he had 2 squads of elemental carrying the flag back to his home base. So I had to hunt him down and make that flag point. Nobody grabbed it, I don't think, because we just made it a kill zone. And then what else was in there? Hold the line. Dave was able to get over on his side of the board to get some of the points for hold the line. And yeah, that was game 2. I mean, Sam and Paula were really fun players to play against. Sam is really tactical. She comes from another gaming system. She's kind of new to the Alpha Strike scene or the Battletech scene, I think.
Do you know what game she plays? Or
I don't remember. I think it might have been 40K, maybe.
Okay.
But she was really good tactically and learning the intricacies of, you know, the mechs and the battle armor and stuff like that. She was very good at asking questions about stuff. So it was a really good game amongst the 4 of us.
Cool.
And then game 3 was against Max and Matt, which was Headhunter, Overrun, and Bunkers. And that
the father-son team.
Yeah, that was the Iron Wolves. Kudos to you guys. I mean, that was a rough game. And we were fighting it out for, I think, first place, and Max and Matt ended up taking first place and dropped us down like 3 or 4 spots somewhere. I don't know. But yeah, it was a tough game because Max and Matt, they overloaded one side of the board with all their units pretty much. And Dave and I had kind of spread out. And so they just started rolling up Dave's side. And they ended up dropping his Ares, I think, and doing a lot of damage. And I was trying to hold down the fort on the bunker side, which was fun, playing Max's side of bunkers with his little fast guys and his flying elementals and stuff that he had, or flying battle armor.
Fun as in not fun?
It was, it's one of those things where it depends on the player sometimes, the tactics I'll use. And there was things that I did in that game that I'm like, I don't normally do this, but I'm going to do it because you're already doing it to me kind of thing, you know? Like he had a flatbed truck parked in the front of one of his little bunker spots, so I had to kill the truck just to get into the bunker. And so he was flying his battle armor over on my side of the board, and I'm like, all right, I see what you're doing over there. I'm going to park my Sagittarius here. Now get through that with your battle armor. So kind of became a standoff on my side of the board, and I was trying to help Dave out on his side, and it was a close game, I think, but it ended up the win going to Max and Matt. So I think the doubles was interesting, but it's a lot of freaking points, man. That's a lot. It's 700 points on a side, and there's a lot of moving parts that you got to get into. So I think the feedback, it did take a while. I mean, and I think on average, we were only getting through like 3 turns, maybe. What was it, 2-hour block?
Yeah, something like that, right?
Something like that.
Yeah. So the doubles game was interesting, and I think the feedback was we drop it down to like you only use 250 points or 300 points of your 350. So
yeah, I think the current consensus on the Wolfnet Discord was something around 550, maybe 500 or 550.
Yeah, 500 or 550 would work too. And it makes you think a little bit too prior to each game, based off of the scenarios and based off of the objectives and stuff. So I think it's got potential, but it definitely needs a lot more tweaking on that side of running it. So,
Yeah, I mean that makes sense though. It's a new concept that they're testing out, and I think it's cool that we were able to in mass test it out live because for
guinea pigs.
Because they've been testing it out 1-on-1. Well, I guess 2-on-2 amongst themselves. So which that small group, you use the same general tactics and play style. So being able to bring it to an event like this where there's a much wider and larger variation of tactics and play style and unit selection, you can get way more data points. So I hope Coach got a lot of good information from it, and I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, I think it's something we could try and run here in Colorado too. I think that might be worthwhile.
I think Colorado Crew's done a good job providing a lot of data points for the WNRP crew. I think we were the leading charge for Charles and his arguments to lock or to bring 350 down to faction era.
Oh yeah,
and to the point to where now even the Adepticon event is era locked.
Right.
Right. And I think
Gen Con's going to be era locked too.
Yeah, I think says because that's what Colorado Gang's been doing the whole time. I think we were a large driving effort in those data points in Charles's favor because that's what he wanted all along.
Right.
So here's to you, Charles. Cheers.
Yeah,
for sure.
So that was kind of the doubles tournament recap, I think. Is there anything else on that?
I think that's about it because I was one round and you were the rest of them.
Yeah, and I know Dave probably has some stuff, but we can talk about that with Dave next episode when he comes on.
Yeah. Matt, you were the only one to participate in the BTCC.
Yep.
How was that, my guy?
Yeah, so the Battletech Championship Circuit, I only know of one other place that they've done this at Nova in Northern Virginia, but it's a classic Battletech competitive rule set, and it's kind of an interesting collection of rules, and it's kind of in flux as I understand it at this point. There's the developers kind of aren't how can I say? They're not actively helping out kind of with the rule set and developing it anymore, and so it's kind of fallen to other people to kind of take up the mantle and go with it. But we had I'm not sure exactly how many players were there, but it was between 16 and 18, so it was a good showing for Classic Battletech, and there was actually very, very little crossover. Myself and Jesty, a player from California, were the only ones that played in the Alpha Strike tournament and then played in the BTCC, so it was kind of a totally different crew that came in, and I'm not sure if they were playing other games throughout the con, but it was kind of cool to meet some new people. I took a Wolf's Dragoons list. So basically, in the BTCC for LVO, you could only take units that had record sheets produced from the Kickstarter in Wave 1, Wave 2, or the Wolf's Dragoons box. So it's kind of an interesting mix of units. It's basically for like all the clans, it was just the Prime and then the A variant. For the Intersphere units, it was mostly like a early or like a Succession Wars variant and then a Clan Invasion era variant. So kind of an interesting mix. I had I took an Axeman one in. I had a Dragonfly, a Viper, whatever you want to call it, a Dragonfly Prime. I had a see, now I'm just going off of my memory here. I had an Orion K.
Appreciate you trying to keep the peace, man.
Yeah. I actually took an elemental group because Wolf Dragoons have that in their list, and then I had a trebuchet. I really like trebuchets, and this was just the normal 2 LRM-15s, 3 medium lasers deal. So that's what I took. I really didn't think I was going to win the thing, but I was going to try it out just to try something on the classic BattleTech side. So they have some interesting scenarios too. Some of the mechanics of the scenarios are a little bit, I think, could use some development and work on them. But the first round that I played was against Nolan, who is kind of a newer player. Has only played really against people in his family. He's from Utah. Really, really good, nice kid. I think he's like 17 or something. But props to Nolan for coming out to the event and playing. We played a breakthrough scenario where basically whoever rolled as the attacker just needed to break through and get at least 3 units onto the opposing player's home edge. And so the opposing player had to basically destroy my stuff to get points. And so with my list, I could easily get three units across. Oh, I also had a Koshi, so that was my 6th unit. So I get the Koshi, and then the elementals riding the dragonfly across pretty easily. So it was kind of like the roll of the first dice kind of made one side easier or harder. It was definitely harder for the defender. Like you were saying, John, in Classic, you can get units to survive for quite a number of turns, even under relatively high fire or hard fire. That one was kind of an easier game, but it was really fun to play with Nolan because he's kind of a newer player or less experienced, and so we were kind of talking back and forth and working through some of the rules and stuff. So that was nice because I just don't play Classic BattleTech enough. I like it, but I just don't play it enough to always be invested in the rules. My second game was against Jesty, who I mentioned before, and Jesty's I just want to props out to Jesty, super cool guy. If you get to play against Jesty at any time, I highly recommend it. He's on Mega Mech a lot, and then some other playing in person. Really nice guy. We played King of the Hill, and King of the Hill in Classic was interesting. You had to basically get around this little building, and like the hexes, two hexes away from the building is the hill, and I ended up winning the roll, I think, and then I just placed it like on top of an actual hill there, and so it made it kind of funky. There were like level 3s next to level 0s and all sorts of stuff going on, and Justy had a much better list than I did. He brought I think 2 elemental squads and then a couple of really good units, and The constant among all my games except for my first round was that the Axeman, once it took any damage, it blew up. And so he was the first to get the lucky shot. I think he put 20 damage on it, and so they were all skill 3/4, so he just needed a 4 or a 5 for his PSR. Of course, rolled like a 2. He falls on his back. There happens to be an elemental squad in the same hex. They do like a crit somewhere, and of course the crit goes through and blows up my AC-20 ammo. So there goes the Axeman from fresh to gone in one round. Yeah, which was one of my heavies, and just everything kind of went down. I mean, it was a good game. It kind of went back and forth, but from then on, once the Axeman went down, it kind of went downhill, and he ended up winning the game by points. But really, it was a fun game. But it was a harbinger of doom, kind of, because the next round, round 3 or game 3, I played against Steven from Edmonton, I think, and he was obviously a very well versed classic BattleTech player. He knew all the tables, knew all the numbers quite quickly, so he was a much better player than me. But all of his shots seemed to hit me, and they were taking things out again, and they're. First time that the Axeman gets hit, headshot, boom, gone. So we were playing okay, but it was a scenario where you had to go up, and to actually get the points, you had to sit still for 2 turns next to a building. And that's one thing that is, especially in like a one map zone area in Classic, it's like standing still is death. So I wasn't really keen on that, but he started picking off my units quite quickly. But what happened to him is I would hit back a little bit, and then he would completely miss his PSRs. And so he was every round, one of his units was falling down, and they were always landing on their head or whatever. So the only reason that it was a close game is because of this comedy of errors where he would essentially kill himself and then kill me. And so I was like, I'm not even really doing anything in this game. You're kind of playing both sides here. So in the end, it was kind of a frustrating game for me. But I think Steven had fun. He won in the end. It kind of came down to like, oh, should we keep playing this? You're obviously going to win, or can we just call it a night? So we called it a night. He took the win for that, but it was interesting. Came back on Sunday morning for round 4. It was scheduled for 5 rounds, but they cut it to 4 official rounds because there were some difficulties with the people in charge. Topa came in and kind of took charge for Saturday, but he had to leave Sunday early, and so someone else had to step in. So anyways, round 4, I played Terrence, who's kind of local from the Las Vegas area. Really nice guy. Played. He had a pretty strong list, and again, same thing happened to my Axeman. First time he gets hit, there goes the head. So yeah, I don't know what it was with the Axeman, but I think that one of the difficulties playing Terrence's list is that he had an actual Direwolf Widowmaker out there, and it only missed 1 shot the entire game. So it was hitting with 2 large pulses, 2 ERPPCs, and an Ultra AC-20 every round.
That's rough.
That was not fun to face. So once he got the buildings that we were playing against, it was kind of a similar scenario where you had to sit still 2 turns next to a building. So when he finally got that Widowmaker up, and he had 3 sets of elementals running around with it, and so the elementals would hold the point, and then the Widowmaker would just go around, and it was 1 turn for an Axeman, a fresh Axeman, 2 turns for an Orion K, and Orion K has tons of armor. But yeah, 1 turn for a Dragonfly, 1 turn for a Koshi. So it was pretty crazy. I was outmatched by the Widowmaker, just hitting everything. So lost that one as well. So went 1-3 for the BTCC, but thought it was an interesting rule set. I think it definitely needs some work, but it was interesting to have a competitive Classic Battletech kind of scene there, which I thought was really cool. I like the outlook of it, and it sounds like it's going to be at Adepticon, maybe in a different fashion, but I'd like to see it like worked on, massaged quite a bit, kind of better the scenarios and stuff. But yeah, I had fun. Went there with my Wolf Dragoons list to have fun, and I had fun. So overall, it was okay.
Nice, man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to like take away from your experience, but that is definitely like a bugbear of mine. Like, just when I see it, is the objective in BattleTech that requires a unit to be stationary for a turn. And it's like, it doesn't matter if it's Alpha Strike or Classic. It's just like, that's a death sentence in BattleTech. You know what I mean?
Yeah, speed is life, or movement is life in BattleTech. And especially, I think, for lighter units in when I'm facing like pulse lasers and ERPPCs and heavy
targeting computers.
Yeah, I mean, it's already pretty low. So if I can't get my TMM at all, then lighter units are just, they're just, if you can see them, they're pretty much gone. But it was a difficult one, yeah. But yeah, it was good.
Have you seen any of the conversation? So after LVO ended, Coach started a BTCC Classic discussion channel in the WNRP Discord server. which Topa is in, and he's been taking a lot of notes and a lot of feedback. I don't know if you've been privy to that, seen that at all, or made your comments known.
I haven't made my comments known, but I think they've been echoed by other people. I know Jesty's been on there quite a bit, and then Brad. So Jesty, Brad, and I are all registered on the MRC and have played games against each other, and I think Brad won the whole BTCC there at LVO. Really good player, really knowledgeable, strong opponent, definitely takes lists that he knows, and he knows all the units. So I've seen him commenting on that thread there, and I think coach is trying to help it be better, and I think some people are like, oh, let's just go with something new and kind of throw these away. But I think a lot of people want to save what we've got so far and kind of work on bettering it. So I'm interested to see where it goes. A lot of the comments deal with the scenarios and with the what units are accessible, available for selection. So I know a lot of people have commented on that, and hopefully something worked out that makes sense and is also fun.
Yeah, because this is already a built and established rule set. In most cases, it's easier to refine an established rule set versus build an entirely new one.
Exactly.
So, any other LVO recap moments from anything else? Are we caught up?
I will say that some of the. Actually, it sounds crazy, but the 26 hours in the car with BourBen and Charles was actually quite fun. We came up with some awesome ideas for the future of BattleTech here and beyond, as well as some very interesting questions that Ben can relate, I think.
Yeah, that was a good time coming up with those, especially as we were getting tired driving.
Yeah.
Just the random questions of, favorite mech that you like that everybody else hates kind of stuff,
Yeah.
That always kind of got your mind working, taking it off oh God, we got 3 more hours to go.
Yeah, and it was just fun to just kind of nerd out and that's part of like why I really enjoyed LVOs, because you had the opportunity to, even though like everyone's very different, but you all have the opportunity to kind of nerd out together. And so it was just super fun, especially for like 26 hours stuck in a car. You share this passion for this one, this game, but the game, because it's BattleTech, has this enormous universe behind it, and it was just so fun to like explore with 2 other guys. So fun.
Well, I definitely hope you started filling out the episode roadmap.
We will.
But no, I agree. It was definitely fun and interesting to go from the southernmost edge of the field in Fort Carson to, the Strip and slash the painting minis in a hotel room in Vegas, not even 24 hours later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was an experience. Definitely recommend going to a big convention. I will not be able to attend AdeptCon personally, but I will try and go to Gen Con for this year. I don't know what's the rest of the big cons look like for you guys this year, in yay or nays or maybes.
Yeah, after going to LVO, I won't be able to make it to AdeptCon for sure, but Gen Con became more of a possibility, as in I had such a good time, and Ben talked to me about how Gen Con would be a really good time too, that it's becoming more of a maybe. So we'll see.
Nice.
Yeah, AdeptCon's out for me. I just got too much stuff going on at work, but I've already bought my ticket for Gen Con, so...
Well, you don't want to do another road trip, Ben? Come on.
No. Well, I bought my ticket for Gen Con, and I'm from Indianapolis originally, so I'm going to go and visit family, and, it's always my excuse to come home. Oh, by the way, I'm going to this convention, so... I can't hang out too long.
Twofer.
Yeah. Yep. So,
John, do you think you're going to be able to get to one of them this year?
I'm a big gamer, but I've never been a con guy. So
gotta go at least.
I think you'd have a good time, man.
Yeah, we'll see. See if you guys can talk me into it.
If we can get everyone to Gen Con, because obviously AdeptCon's out.
Yeah.
Because that's in a month and a half.
Yeah.
But if we could get everyone to Gen Con, I'm hoping I'd be able to go to Gen Con. Like, my unit's going to NTC this year, and I shouldn't be in California in the middle of the burning desert.
That's horrible.
Yeah, dude, 2020 was an absolute mess
Yeah.
at NTC. It was horrible.
Yeah.
We broke every Heat Cat record and Medevac record while we were there. It was bad.
We started those records when I was there in like 99.
But it gets hotter every year, bro.
It does. It was miserable then. So I'm sure it's even worse now.
So I really want to try and get to Gen Con. Adepticon, I don't think we can get or are having really anyone get to that one. I think Max is trying to get to that one. But for the majority,
Max and Dad are going out.
Yeah,
that's what they were talking about.
Yeah, because he said he was waitlisted.
X-Wing World Championship too.
Oh yeah,
this year.
Yeah.
So
see, I'm gonna take your word on that because I don't know shit about any other game.
The other big one's Origins too, that a lot of folks go to, which is in Ohio in like September, I think. I've never been, but I've heard it's.
Origins is more like board games.
It might be, but I know Battletech has a presence there because I know usually FanPro or CGO was there, the last couple of years at least.
Give me some ancient history here, Ben.
I know.
So we all know that Adepticon's big for CGO because that's where they are launching the next Kickstarter, which is on the 26th of March. Unfortunately, none of us are able to attend, or 23rd through the 26th of March. So that's a Thursday through a Sunday. So Max and his dad are probably the only ones that I know of going. But locally at least, so in their last monthly update, they announced they're trying to put on these launch parties.
Yep.
So vendors are able to reach out to CGL and essentially apply to host a launch party, which would get them all kinds of launch goodies, and they'll live stream between AdeptCon and the store that's hosting. It's kind of like a regional thing. But our very own local Gamers Haven here in Colorado Springs has applied to be a launch party host, and that is super freaking exciting.
See, secretly, my goal for growing the Denver community is just to make it bigger than the Colorado Springs community. I don't have to drive.
Let's be honest, you're not far off. The Northern Colorado crew, Denver and NoCo, are almost, I think they're about equal with the Colorado Springs
strong
crew.
Man.
Yeah. But so far, all I know of is Gamers Haven has applied. I don't know if any other store has, and it's very possible Jeremy, inconceivable Castle Rock, he could have easily applied, and I just don't know. But I was at Gamers Haven today. I talked to Del Rey, and she told us, yep, we applied to be a launch party store, and they're just waiting to hear back from Catalyst on it. Which is fair. It was just announced, but at the same time, it's a month and a half away, so I hope to hear back soon. Especially because if you're an accepted launch party host, they're supposed to send a lot of things to you and all this, that, and the other, and coordinate this whole live stream between regional store and the actual event at AdeptCon. But I'm excited for that.
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
See how it comes together.
Yeah.
Catalyst, if you're listening, get on that shit.
Yeah. See, because that weekend, I'm supposed to be doing some national park traveling, but we don't leave till Friday. So if I can get 1 to 2 hours at the launch party on Thursday, that would be clutch.
Yeah.
But, that's super cool news from the Colorado Springs area, or at least, literally just in general, Colorado area, having a store apply for a launch party to coincide with the Kickstarter launch. I think that's pretty freaking cool. Moving on, let's go on to the Brew of the month with BourBen.
Hey all, this is Ben here, your Battletech Master of Spirits. Get your mixers, liquors, shakers, stirrers, and strainers ready as we cover this month's Battletech Drink of the Month.
All right, welcome to the Brew of the Month. In honor of the winner of the Las Vegas Open, which was Clan's Hell's Horses, they took number 1 and number 2 spots, I believe. Goolsby and Mario.
No, number 2 was Alex.
Well done
with Draconis.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Alex was number 2. Yeah, that's right. So, well, number 1 at least gets it. So, this month's Brew of the Month is the Clan ERPPC, and we've talked about the PPC in general over the last couple episodes, and how horribly disgusting it is. This is no better. It's 4 parts grain alcohol, 1 part vodka, and 1 part club soda. And that's it.
Come on.
Burn.
Hey, man. It's
making me angry.
It is.
Why does everything have to be bad?
Dude, that's one of those drinks that, makes you want to take your shirt off and get in a mosh pit or something. It's pretty angry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Similar to the Clan ERPPC. So
what is the Clan large pulse then? Just a sledgehammer to your head?
Pretty much. They just fashion a shiv and stab you with it a couple times.
Through your eye socket. Yeah. Here's this knife, and it's going to go through your eye. Like,
so for these recipes, when it says like grain alcohol, are you just assuming that to be like White Lightning?
Yeah. Or they mentioned Everclear.
Oh, so worse.
I'm staying away from Everclear, and I'm just using
I think Moonshine's at least a little bit better than Everclear. Like shit.
Yeah, I mean it's Everclear.
I just got nail polish remover.
Yeah, you might as well just go with gasoline or something at some point.
So like that's a standard Clan ERPPC, right? Like, what could you? What do you think you could add to it to make it more specific to Clan Hell's Horses?
Ooh, that's
fire.
So maybe some Fireball. Yeah, maybe a little Fireball to it, or make it a little spicy.
Garnish it with a clump of horsehair,
or give it some rum.
But what kind of rum though? Like,
I like rum.
I don't know.
Well,
it'd be cracking.
I would say 151, but they stopped making 151 a couple years back, which I'm still sad about, by the way. Shame on you, Bacardi.
Go get your Mad Dog 2020 out.
I think Fireball is probably the best additive for making it like a more Clan Hell's Horse specific.
Yeah.
I
think you could swap out that club soda with the Fireball. That might give it a little.
Well,
bit
now
more
you're just gonna die. I think you need the
taste.
club soda to at least say something that's not alcohol. You know what I mean? It's just you add 1 ounce maybe of Fireball in addition to everything else. Because if you take away the club soda, you're just gonna die.
Yeah,
we're here to have a good time, not
a
be
long
here for a
time.
long time. Okay.
Yeah. It's rough. It's rough. So, I mean, as always, you could make it better by just taking apart the moonshine and
just
the
add
vodka
bourbon
and the club soda and putting, add bourbon, 6 parts of bourbon.
Stay consistent, man.
That's it. So, that concludes your Brew of the Month.
Woo.
Matt, I love that you end every brew of the month with woo.
You got to give him the props. I don't drink it, but it sounds like any man that's brave enough to go in on one of these things, it's rotten teeth or whatever. It doesn't matter, but bourbon's got it.
That's why I was telling him. I was like, once we go through this OG list of drinks, then we need to go through it again, but change it and actually make them good.
We're gonna revisit all and update them and upgrade them. It's like the rec guy.
Who made these originally? That's what I'm wondering.
Man, who knows? It's on Reddit, dude. It's one of the things that some dude sitting in his basement that doesn't drink was like, hey, let's make this.
Hero.
All right, so next would be. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say some of it's probably just just stuff from the novels that they've kind of described,
Yeah.
but not really fleshed out.
All right, for our new segment, we're going to go into our S2 Intel Brief, which focuses on specific units throughout the universe. So Ben, as the Intel Briefing individual.
Token lore master.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. I'm the guy that made the PowerPoint.
Slide one, please.
All right. So this S2 brief is about the Eridani Light Horse. The Eridani Light Horse was formed in 2702 as the 3rd Regimental Combat Team of the SLDF. Their makeup consisted of 4 total regiments, 2 Light Horse regiments, and 2 Striker regiments. They were stationed in the Draconis Combine for most of their early years. In 2749, the commander of the 3rd RCT was assassinated by the Prince of Rasselhague, however you say it, I don't know. The 3rd RCT immediately occupied all the major cities when the prince sent troops to the city of Eridani on Trondheim, the world of Trondheim. The 3rd RCT easily repelled the attackers. A reporter observing the action reported that the 3rd had scattered the prince's forces like a spirited Eridani stallion chasing after fat Luthian cows. From then on, the appellation struck. The unit saw extensive action in the periphery and took part in the Hegemony campaign, culminating with the invasion of Terra. At one point during the campaign, the 19th Striker Regiment was betrayed from within and destroyed by Amorous troops on Talitha, leaving the 3rd RCT with 2 Light Horse regiments and 1 Striker regiment. After the fall of the usurper, the 3rd RCT was requested by General Kerensky to accompany the remnants of the SLDF on the exodus from the Inner Sphere. For several days, the unit deliberated, coming to the conclusion that the Light Horse regiments would remain in the Inner Sphere and do what they could to uphold the ideals of the Star League while providing protection for the civilians in the wars to come. Their road to becoming a mercenary unit was slow and didn't become fully realized until after the start of the First Succession War, when they officially became mercenaries in the employ of the Free Worlds League. Thus, the Eridani Light Horse mercenary regiments were born, consisting of 3 regiments: the 71st Light Horse Regiment, the White Horse; the 151st Light Horse Regiment, the Dark Horse; and the 21st Striker Regiment, 4 Horsemen. Throughout the remaining Succession Wars, the Eridani Light Horse, or ELH, was an example of integrity and honor in the mercenary trade, helping to stem the slow slide to depravity in the Inner Sphere, leading by example and hoping the rest would follow. The ELH was under contract to the Federated Commonwealth when Kerensky's exodus returned in 3049. It became a crisis of faith for the unit, ultimately deciding that they would do what they believed best for the denizens of the Inner Sphere, even if that meant fighting their ancestral cousins. When the Second Star League was announced, the ELH was to become the first unit to join the newly reconstituted SLDF. Participating in Operation Serpent, the invasion of the clan homeworlds, the ELH was the backbone of the task force, and ultimately, the victorious task force. The ELH was tasked with remaining on station in the clan homeworlds as representatives of the Star League. 1 regiment stayed behind, while the remaining 2 regiments returned to the Inner Sphere to reconstitute their losses sustained in Task Force Serpent. It is important to note that at the conclusion of Task Force Serpent, the ELH had an influx of new recruits, which resulted in the formation of the 19th Cavalry Regiment, in honor of their sister regiment which had been destroyed during the fall of the original Star League. When the Second Star League dissolved and the World of Blake Jihad began, the 3 regiments in the Inner Sphere fought in the battles across the universe to slow the World of Blake. The Jihad would ultimately break the Eridani Light Horse regiments. The lone regiment that had remained in the clan homeworlds was absorbed by Clan Goliath Scorpion when they had no way to return to the Inner Sphere in the chaos of the Jihad. Throughout the Dark Ages, there were several splinter mercenary units claiming to be the various units of the ELH, and it wasn't until Julian Davian, first Prince of the Federated Sons, pulled them all together and made them an offer to reform the regiments, that the various commanders began working together again as a unified force. And that is a brief of what the Eridani Light Horse is currently on their history.
Man, that Julian, what a good guy.
He's such a
I don't
great
feel like
guy,
he's
isn't he?
executed. Yeah.
I think they're a really interesting unit, Ben. I think especially because of the decisions that they made, like for instance, when the Exodus happened and the majority of the four regiments decided not to follow General Kerensky out, and then on the kind of the back end of that, when the clans show up and they decide again not to like fight with them, but fight against them. So kind of two really interesting decisions in their history that I think are kind of differentiate them from any other unit out there.
I think that kind of goes in line with their original decision not to join the Exodus, to stay and to choose to fight against the clans when they return. That's kind of, from my point of view, a 1-on-1 in line with the original decision to not go. So, what's that word?
Disappointing.
John has a different opinion.
Desgra.
Opinion, John.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
This is a hot take.
when Father Kerensky says it's time to leave, it's time to leave.
You don't buck the father.
It was a direct order,
That's
so
right.
yeah, this would be going against orders.
It was more of a
And
question
then
than an
to,
order, like a
just
request, right?
become cell swords. It's just an insult to injury.
Well, it's interesting in their history where, they were stationed in the Draconis Combine for so much of after the Exodus, prior to the First Succession War kind of thing, and then there was a bunch of stuff that happened to them, where their dependents got taken hostage and in the Draconis Combine, and they went to war with the Combine. It was very eerily similar to, the Wolf's Dragoons of the Fourth Succession War. And then they decided to leave Draconis Combine space, and they made a deal with the Free Worlds League saying, hey, you give us a safe world where our dependents can not be bothered and kind of leave us alone, and we'll help out. So they became kind of the backbone, I guess you would, of the Free Worlds League militia in the First Succession War. And then they had to take a little trip and have a little, come to Kerensky moment amongst themselves of actually becoming mercenaries and getting paid for doing what they were doing. So that was kind of an interesting little tidbit.
Well, that kind of also, like when you describe it that way, also reminds me of for recent lore, when the Wolf Empire was moving from its former location to its current location, and they had the entire Wolf Empire and all the dependents and everything else loaded up on all these drop ships, jump ships, this, that, and the other, and the House Steiner was essentially just holding them hostage. So that, like, history kind of repeats itself in a sense, not necessarily for like the same people per se, but it has that same kind of vibe to it where it's like, yeah, you're holding this entire population's dependents hostage to get what you want, and try and,
Yeah, I don't feel like that has ever once worked out in BattleTech history.
It really doesn't.
and it's happened multiple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Multiple times, yeah.
And that's like the current,
You're like,
the current timeline wise example of it was with the Wolf Empire. I still need to finish Empire Alone. Yeah, I'm way behind.
Man, that Alaric, such a cool guy. So hot right now.
Well, he is the Ocon, but so moving on into what's that? Tactics.
Yeah. So, this additional part of the brief, the tactics of the ELH, or the Eridani Light Horse. The three regiments have varying tactics they use depending on the situation. For the 71st Light Horse, the main tactic is speed, striking quickly, fading away, unsettling their opponents with, just some
TMM3 and TMM4.
Yep. There you go. The 151st is mainly a defensive regiment, having the responsibility for protecting the unit's dependents. It has developed some highly unorthodox tactics in the defense. And we'll leave that up to you to kind of come up with what those unorthodox tactics are. The 21st Striker Regiment has no preferred tactic, choosing to rely on any lack of any coherent plan to confuse and bewilder
These are
their
the
enemies.
Anarchists.
I can get behind that. I can really get behind that type of tactic because I really don't have the plan.
That reminds me of like a picture I've seen once where it's like, the Germans rely on their SOPs and their tactics, and then the Russians do the same, and then the Americans completely ignore their SOPs.
All their SOPs, all the tactics they've been trained on.
The SOPs are like public and everything else, and like everyone has access to them. And so when the enemy sees us not adhering to our SOPs whatsoever, they're just super confused as to what the fuck we're doing. And it's because
they're looking for that TO going, hey,
because we don't know what we're doing. And if we don't know what we're doing, you don't know what we're doing. And you know what? Now I'm just going to capitalize on this and kill you.
Right. And the final one, the 19th Cavalry Regiment, is unique for a combined arms regiment in that it uses its mechs in a supporting role, corralling the enemy into well-laid infantry traps.
Grayson Carlisle would be proud.
Yeah, he would. He probably took some notes. When the 19th got
right,
maybe they took notes.
Carlisle. Maybe they did take notes from the Grey Death. Matt, you had another addition to that, right?
I've just been looking. Well, it's kind of been interesting. Now that you mentioned the crazy, what was it? The 21st Striker Regiment that they just kind of went bonkers everywhere. I was just looking through some of the units that they fielded, the lances, and some of them are pretty awesome, like the Cephalo Sledgehammers, which is the 25th Heavy Assault Company. So one of their lances is the Stalker, the Banshee, a Stalker, and a Thunderbolt, and the other is a Battlemaster Warhammer, Awesome, and Marauder. That's pretty good sledgehammer type deal.
Nice.
They have, it's really interesting to kind of delve into a unit like this because they've got all the nicknames for the different battalions. Like the 1st Armored Infantry Battalion are called the Mighty Mites, and they've got all the infantry along with Cicada, Spider, and Locust. Got the Tin Can Company in there. It's just really fun. So yeah, you can tell that they're not like relying on one specific unit as much as maybe some other regiments or mercenary groups, but they definitely have a diversity of things, even in just 3025, which is where they're mostly built out with those 4 regiments. So yeah, there you go.
Their table of organization is pretty varied. I mean, they've got a long history. You're talking 3, almost 400 years in the inner sphere. So it depends on the regiment, their preferred tactics, what they're going to field. And like you were talking about, Matt, I mean, every company is kind of built out in different eras, different things. So you might see a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah, and they definitely not only do they usually have a full TONE where they've got all the different companies, including kind of a mixed with mechs and different combat vehicles, but they definitely do have quite a bit of aerospace as well. So you see a lot of aerospace lances in each of these companies here. So even in 3025, where aerospace, at least game wise, we tend to have it there pretty rarely. It's definitely present in the light horse companies.
Yeah, and I know some of the research I was doing, it talked about even their mech lances are combined arms. Well, their lances are combined arms. They might have 2 mechs, an infantry platoon, and a vehicle. For a lot of their units. So it's a very interesting way of looking at it compared to some of the great houses, and even the SLDF, where you had entire battalions of the same mech.
Yeah, it's not definitely not that here. When you look through things, it's you get a diverse number of units, and each one is different than the other.
So the color scheme that the Eridani Light Horse use has always maintained their roots in the SLDF by painting their machines in the Star League colors of olive drab. Each regiment has its own insignia painted on their units in addition to the overall ELH symbol. The addition of the Cameron Star was added after the second Star League was reborn. And I'd be curious to know if that's that Cameron star is still on there in the Dark Age or even in the Ilkland era.
I've always said the Iridani light horse. So like you're pronouncing it
I
as
said Eridani.
I know we all
It's because I don't have an audio book
Eridani.
Iridani light horse. I know everyone's got their own weird pronunciations because we just have the letters in a book and and this and the others. So it ends up being everyone's got their own pronunciations of things.
It's one of those things I've always enjoyed debating with people because it's like a reader will if he's reading it the name for the first time, he'll sound it out in his head, and that's how he'll always pronounce it. As opposed to someone who hears it for the first time, they'll always pronounce it that way.
I always read that word as Eridani.
Same.
And I think it was like, oh my gosh, this is a stretch. I feel like that was like a company in like one of the Mass Effect games, with like Eridani, something or other.
Yeah,
because like when I first started reading, like now I'll say Lyran, right? Because that is how it's spelled.
Right.
But young me, not fully paying attention to the letters on the page, I would always hear in my head Lyrian. So I would always hear it as Lyrian Commonwealth. And then when I first heard it as someone said, like either on a podcast or whatever it was, Lyran, I was like, wrong. And then I looked at the book and I was like, oh wait, no, I'm wrong. I'm dumb.
I'm in the same boat, man. I was always a Lyrian
I always
guy.
said Lyrian, and I was like, oh, it is Lyran because that's what the letters are. I'm dumb,
right?
But I've always heard
it's okay
and read it as Iridani light horse, but that's just me.
Now, Ben, we're covering this because there happens to be a new pack coming out here soon, or is about to hit shelves, which has one of your faves in it, the old Sagittarius.
It does. Yes. So I know I've seen some posts on Facebook that people are starting to get the ELH mech packs that are coming out, and that's one of the. I'm not a huge ELH fan. I never have been, but they've got a lot of decent mechs in that little mech pack. I mean, the Sagittarius obviously is a huge one for me. They got a Cyclops, a Banshee, and
the Jumpy Thunderbolt.
Else. I can't remember what it is. That's what it was. Yep.
That was a really heavy lance.
Beefy.
Yeah, and I think they called it a reconnaissance.
How is that
lance.
recon?
No,
it's a hunter lance, and I don't know what they're hunting.
It's a Lyrian recon lance.
I see what you did there.
You see what I did there, huh?
That's pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So I know my sources for this were a little bit of Sarna, the Comstar Field Manual, and the Eridani Light Horse Chronicles series of novels. So, Matt, what'd you have for sources?
Well, I was
that?
just cruising through the old list of companies. It was just Sarna. Sarna and my friend Ben. He knows it all, so I rely on him.
I do not. But I just got to put on a good show. So this concludes the S2 briefing for this month. Join us next month when we cover another unit. TBD.
Oh, suspense. Who will it be?
All right, I guess that moves us into news from the neighborhood, where we talk about regular game days in the neighborhood.
We just need to pre-record this.
Yeah.
This one's changing a little bit, so
it's a little different. Tuesday nights at I think it's about 6-ish p.m. It's the evening at Wizard's Chest in Denver. Your point of contact is going to be Greg on the Colorado Discord, Colorado Battletech Discord server. Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. and Foco and Matt's, the Northman's Battletech basement.
Whoop!
That's your guy.
We call it the Battletech Bunker.
I am. That's a much better name than Battletech basement.
Yeah,
it is not. It's now the Battletech Bunker.
Yeah.
Board Fox Games Wednesday nights in Grand Junction. Matt might be able to give us more on that relatively soon, Trader. Friday night fights at Hobbytown, Westminster. Obviously, on Fridays, starting at 5:30 p.m. Includes Alpha Strike and Classic Battletech. Get with Matt, Ben, or John.
Yeah.
Ayo, Gamers Haven, Saturdays here in Colorado Springs, 6 p.m. until close, if not later, sometimes, ?
Secret games that happen after hours.
Secret games that happen after the doors close. Petrie's Games, Colorado Springs, every third Saturday of the month from 2 p.m. until it's over. And Mega Mech, which is
play some Mega Mech, people. Yeah.
PC based, because it's only on PC. Local / MRC. Get in touch with Matt.
If you guys want to play Mega Mech, in touch with me. We'll work it out. It's easy because then we can play almost whenever. So it'll be good.
Figure it out. Upcoming action. Battlefronts, 4th Succession Wars. Matt and John, speak your bit.
Yeah. So John and I are putting on an event at Hobbytown, Westminster on the 18th of February. So that is 2 weeks from today, which will be a couple days till you hear this. So if you guys want to come experience some 4th Succession Wars, it'll be awesome. You can pick one side or the other. If you want to be the good guys, you can be with the Capellans, the Free Worlds League. No. Oh, hot take. Okay. You can play on one side or the other. So we're playing.
You're about to pants me into a heart attack over here, man.
That was awesome.
Jeez Louise.
Because I'm going to be playing Capellans, so we're obviously going to be the good guys. Yeah. So basic facts.
So far.
The Hobbytown Westminster starting around 10:30 a.m. 11 for the Alpha Strike side. It'll be really fun. People are going to be paired up. One Alpha Strike and one Classic player, and you do in your game will influence your partner and vice versa. So it should be a lot of fun. It's kind of narrative, but it takes somewhat from the Wolfnet AS350 scenarios and kind of modifies them in a couple of ways. We have kind of some general details out in a packet that I put out earlier today, both on the Discord and on the Colorado Facebook or Colorado Battletech Facebook page. What am I missing here?
And if you are a new player or you want to bring a new player or a friend that's interested, we're going to have some loner armies as well. Everything's set up. So the idea is that we're going to be pretty beginner friendly, but still have some narrative elements, kind of get the fun for all crowds. And just come out and shoot the breeze and play some Battletech.
Yep. Well, this will be kind of Battlefronts is going to be a rotating thing where we're going to go through the different eras. You get to experience the different units in the eras, as well as kind of the conflicts between the large factions or really important players in those eras. So come out, have fun. We'll have loner armies. Just get in touch with us, and we can get you those. So back to Mike.
Genghis Khan. There will be an Alpha Strike 350 tournament at Genghis Khan
run by David
at February 26th. David couldn't join us today because he's sick.
Capellans.
Yeah, blame the Capellans for his sickness.
No!
Biological warfare.
Yeah.
But there should be an Alpha Strike 350 tournament at Genghis Khan on February 26th. I believe last I checked there was approximately 11 slots left out of the 24, so there should be 13 currently signed up
so far.
And then
what you doing, man?
And then February 27th there should be a 4-player campaign event raid on Butte Hold. That would be Greg. Get in touch with him on the Colorado Discord. All events are free with a con admission, which is $66 for the weekend or $40 to $45 depending on the day for a single day badge. Anyone else got any upcoming action to note?
I am working on putting together a test tournament for Classic. I'm looking to get the rules set out in March, and we're going to run it up here in Denver on probably during Friday night fights just to see how it plays out. Kind of an upgraded take on the old Marshall Olympiad tournament for Classic.
Right on.
So trying to get the rules set out in March, and then we'll probably look at running it in April, May, June-ish time frame.
Yeah, I know you've been wanting to get something going in that regard. So hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any other upcoming action to note?
Nope, just keep playing games, people. We're putting on a good number of events, so should be lots of opportunities and lots of people to play with. So keep on playing.
Keep on playing. Keep overriding your reactor safeties.
Override, shutdown, always.
Always.
All right.
Always.
So let's brings us into shout outs. Let's start it off with John for the shout outs.
Yeah, well, I already shouted out to the Virginia crew for hosting me. So thanks again to them, Hansa, Chuck, Stocky, and Toby, and Battlegrounds Midlothian. And then for the Colorado side, I want to shout out Alex for coming in second at LVO.
And best painted.
And, that's good. Nice. And Max Lagaro for kicking my ass at Friday Night Fights this past week.
Our combined asses he kicked.
And Ben, how about you?
My shout out this month is going to go to Catalyst for giving some good prize support for LVO.
That prize support was dope.
It was pretty fantastic. We ended up with 3 of the new Lance packs from the Mercenaries, 1 pack of ELH, 1 pack of Kellhounds, and 1 pack of Hansen's Rough Riders. We also had 6 packs of the new cardboard counters that are going to be hitting the shelves here soon, I believe. And then 40 freaking salvage boxes. So big kudos to Catalyst for getting us that prize support for LVO.
All right, Matt.
Yeah, I think, I'd say ditto to Catalyst. It was great to see those packs hitting people's pockets, kind of. But also the Wolfnet crew for putting on the LVO Alpha Strike tournament. Just was fantastic to meet them, and I know they put tons of work into getting that tournament going. You know, Andrew, Aaron, Tommy was there, Charles was there. You know, they've all worked really hard on the rule set, and especially at putting this event together here out in the West, which has been unique so far. So, you know, super kudos to them. Shout out to them. And just, I already shouted out all my opponents, but thank you for beating me down repeatedly because, you know, I need to be humbled, I guess. But no, thank you everyone that I met at LVO and had a great time there, and really thankful I was able to go. So there you go.
Oh, I got one save round.
What? Send it.
I'm going to give a shout out Topa, man. Topa kind of stepped into the breach and ran the first day of the BTCC. And he's trying to wrangle that dog. So a big shout out to him to take on that task and really just try and make the best event he could.
It's true. We didn't have a lot of time to do it either.
Nope.
And then for me, I'll just double tap, you know, all my opponents, Luke Rolfs, Max, Paolo, Topa, and Bradley Prophet. Great games all around. The Wolfnet crew for building the rule set, the tournament, driving the community. I just appreciate everything you guys have done. I think we have one of the best communities out there. I think Andrew has said it multiple times while we were there, but he is absolutely right in everything he said. We have the best community, tabletop gaming wise, and it's just getting better as it grows. So that's my general shout out. WNRP, everyone I played, Catalyst for opening up the
vault.
What was that? Opening up the vault to the goodies, because whew, I may not have got one, but man, they were good.
Exactly. And hashtag justice for Hansen, right? Right, Ben?
That's right. Hashtag justice for Hansens.
But no, super awesome time. Had lots of fun. I hope all of us can get to Gen Con, myself included, because I don't even know if I can go. We know Ben's going, but you know.
Yep. I'll be there.
We'll see what happens, you know. Any other closing remarks?
Thanks for listening, everyone. Always fun to meet a listener and talk to you. I know Phil and Justy mentioned they listen, so hey, Thanks for listening, guys, as we babble on.
Jesse, you're in every server, and you randomly showed up in our hotel room as I was painting. You're just a sneaky motherfucker. Well, I guess there's nothing else. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day, night, whatever time of day you're listening to us. Work on that pile of shame. We'll see you on the next episode. Last call.
Last call.
Last call. That's right. Don't have to go home, but you don't have to stay here.
That's
Oh, wait,
right.
no. I messed it up.
You don't have to go
Jesus.
home, but you can't stay here. Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks for joining us today in the Valhalla Club. Special thanks to our sponsor, Ares Games and Miniatures. Ares is the premier online retailer for all your Battletech needs. You can contact us at the Valhalla Club at outlook.com. If you are in Colorado, please join your local community group on Facebook and Discord. If you are able to help support your local Colorado Battletech community, subscribe on Patreon to Colorado Battletech. This Patreon account is used to supply prize support for local events and assist in venue costs. Links for the Valhalla Club Discord, the Colorado Battletech Patreon, and Facebook group are in the show notes. Until next time, mech fans.